Hey everybody, this is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad. Then I thought I'd do a quick little update on the icy mess that's heading towards the mountains tonight. It's a little bit of snow, but it's really more about the refreeze that I think is a much bigger issue for folks in the mountains tonight. And we'll hint a little bit at what's coming for Friday, though that, again, doesn't look like a huge deal, but ice again for the mountains. I think that's our biggest concern. Real quickly, here's the temperatures. This is at 9:40 when I'm recording this, so these will be even lower by 10 o'clock. But you can see already in Boone and Jefferson, we're hovering near the freezing mark. We're getting a mix of rain, snow, sleet up there already. And across the Piedmont, it's still raining, but temperatures are in the 40s. It's just a miserable setup out there tonight. Here's a look at that winter weather advisory, which is in effect for the mountains through tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Now, this is for some snow, but I think it's primarily the issue here is going to be the refreeze of all the rain that fell today, because it's going to freeze up and cause ice. And I can show you the rain right now moving across the area. You see showers across most of the Piedmont. These are moving off to the northeast, and you can see the snow and kind of a wintry mix developing up in the mountains. Let me show you real quickly the snow back to the west. This is where the bulk of the moisture is. It's actually back here in Tennessee. We're in the form of snow. A lot of this is moving up in this direction, but there'll be a narrow band that develops here and then pushes up into Virginia. What's interesting to me is this little, it looks like a jet streak is developed back here. You see this enhancement? Those bright banding you're seeing there, that's likely wet snow. So this is likely going to move up here. So there's a good chance there will be a brief burst of snow sometime overnight into the morning hours as this moves off to the north and east. So that's where we'll see the biggest issues develop. So real quickly, here's the headlines for the mountains. Dusting to 1 to 2 inches, mainly near the Tennessee line. A refreeze of the wet roads, causing a big concern and turning wet and really cold in the morning. Now, let me show you the snowfall forecast. It's not super impressive here. I'm going to let it play out as we go into motion here. Let's see if it plays. It's taking forever. So you can see this is through 11 o'clock. We'll go through tomorrow, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and really most of this happens in the morning. So again, this is not anything that's really spectacular here. You could see some of the higher South Mountains might get a little dusting, and then up towards the Porcupine Mountains, the Brushies, I should say, the Brushies up there, and then moving up into Virginia. So this is where the snow is today. It doesn't look like it's going to be much of a big deal, but here's the problem. These are the futurecast temperatures. So you can see at 9 o'clock it had us at 31, but we'll certainly be by 10 or 11, we'll be in the 20s. So anything wet up here is going to be freezing up after about 10 or 11 o'clock. And as we go into the morning hours, you can see I'll stop this about 7 a.m. We're in the low 20s. So again, just think about everything wet in those areas icing up and becoming ice, and then putting a little dusting of snow on top of it. Ugh, that's just not a good setup. And then we go into tomorrow afternoon, and you can see temperatures don't really recover much. We don't get above freezing in the mountains, and we're likely going to see temperatures stay in the 40s across the Piedmont. So that's tomorrow morning. Once we get past tomorrow morning, everything's fine. We'll dry out. We'll be fine. Then we got to start looking ahead to Friday. And I'm going to do another vlog tomorrow on this because I think it warrants that. But just to show you real quickly tonight, you can see the rain moving out. Here's that brief shot of snow around 1, 2 a.m. moving across the area. Notice even up north of Statesville, there's a little dusting, maybe up towards Greensboro. By 7 a.m., everything's pushing out. And you can see as we go into tomorrow, everything's clear and dry. So let's go through Thursday. We're dry there as well. Temperature's not exactly warm. And then we go into Thursday night. This is when things get a little more interesting here. I'm going to stop it right here so I can see the rest of this. So we'll stop this about 4 o'clock, let's say 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So what's going on Friday mornings? We've got cold, dry air pushing down in this direction. We've got moisture coming up from the south. So it's a race between the moisture and the cold air. Notice the temperatures here. You see these temperatures? Really close to the freezing mark. Definitely near freezing right in here. So watch what happens as this moves up in the morning. So right around there, 6, 7 o'clock. Now, if you notice, it's showing pink around Charlotte, but temperatures here are just above the freezing mark. So probably not a big deal. Here, a little bit more of an issue right in here. So a brief period of freezing rain, mainly up in the trees. This isn't going to affect the roads. The roads are fine because temperatures will be above freezing. And then quickly changes to rain, and then it's a done deal. So there's a brief period there where we've got a little bit of ice again, and then it changes to rain. And it's a miserable cold rain as we go through the morning. So just to show you the probabilities of seeing 1/10 of an inch of ice, there it is. You can see it's really highlighting here up in the mountain. I don't know why this has dropped. It actually has decreased a little bit, but But you can see the probability of ice right now is really confined to these areas, but it comes down Interstate 40 a little bit. It's even a 1 to 5% range. So I really think it's going to be up in that area. And if I look at some of our guidance for, ice, this is our RPM ice total. And again, this is just a model, but I want to show it to you as we go into Thursday night. And you'll start to see this pop up as we get closer to Friday morning. Notice it shows a little bit of a glaze up through the foothills. So this is a pattern, this is a trend we'll have to watch right in here. Now I know everyone freaks out, oh my gosh, that's not a big deal. That's, again, in the trees, not a road issue. But once you start getting around 1/10 of an inch, like right in here, those are areas we'll have to watch. So Shelby, Lincolnton, Statesville, Hickory, Morganton. So threat for a little glaze there on Friday morning certainly would be something we'd have to watch. And you can see when it moves in, it's between about 6 a.m. and about 9:10. So it's a very short window there. One of the things that's interesting about this setup and why it's kind of interesting is that we've got this cold air damming, but typically when the cold air is pushing down in this direction, the high pressure's up here. This is a real big setup for ice. The problem with this setup coming up this on Friday is the high is actually going to be out here. So the flow's coming more like this and it's moving away. So as this warm moist air comes up and over, it kind of uses up the cold air. We call this latent heat release. So when you freeze water, you remove heat from the water to turn it to ice. And that heat's got to go somewhere. So it goes into the surrounding air and warms it up. Now, if you can supply more cold air, it's okay. That keeps things cold. You can keep producing ice. But if you're not constantly supplying cold air, eventually you use up all that cold air and the temperature actually warms up to above freezing, and it's a self-limiting process. So we call freezing rain a self-limiting process unless you're supplying more cold air. It's the reverse of boiling water. If you add heat to a pot of water on the stove, it's eventually going to boil. But if you turn off the heat, it's not going to boil. You may warm it up a little bit, but then it's going to stop and it's never going to get to a boiling point. This is a reverse of this. If you don't keep supplying cold air, the freezing process eventually comes to an end and everything warms up. So it's something I'm keeping an eye on. I'll do another update tomorrow, but I wanted to post a quick update tonight on what's going on. This is longer than I expected, so bear with me, but I wanted to post it and get it out there tonight. I'll see you tonight at 11. We'll have an update on tomorrow's rain, and we'll talk about the ice and snow in the mountains again tonight at 11 on NBC Charlotte.